Today, we have that star of the West End, the star of Broadway, and the star of her own local ice skating rink. Yes, it's Sierra Boggess, no less. Sierra, hello to you.
Hi, it's so nice to see you from a distance.
It is a distance. Yes, hello, New York, and greetings from Liverpool.
So grateful.
Oh, well, thank you so much for doing this. And I was talking there about ice skating. I mean, is there no end to your talents?
Yes. It's amazing during this time that when you don't have a contract in which it literally is like, we can sue you if you break a leg doing something ridiculous, I'm not, beholden to anyone because there is no place to perform. I'm not under contract. So I get to revisit my very first joy in passion of life, which was ice skating.
The plus side of COVID. I like that.
That's right.
Immediately, we're on a high. That's excellent to hear. Can we start with basics? What is a soprano? I thought it was a gangster.
Me too. I still think that I do. That's funny. I actually binge watched all of The Sopranos when COVID first happened. And I was like, why do I feel depressed? And I was like, oh, because I binged watched The Sopranos. Really good, but what is a soprano? I don't know. I always say when I teach, I don't know how to teach somebody how to sing. I have no clue. I just know that from a kid, I was able to sing really high. And we could never afford to take private lessons. So I didn't end up taking private lessons until I was about 17 years old. So when I talk to students, I tell them it doesn't matter what you can afford, you sing, just sing all the time. And I did. I sang all the time. And I sang in a choir and all those things. And I remember when I realized that I really like to sing, that I just wanted to sing the highest. I thought that was the coolest. So a soprano sings high.
Going right back to the start, what is your very earliest memory on this planet?
You know what? It's funny. I've been thinking about that. I think it actually has to do with ice skating because I started skating when I was 4 years old. So my earliest memory has something to do with being on the ice and the feel of the ice under my blades. My dad was just here, and so I have been actually reflecting on the past a lot, and that's one of the things is being on the ice. That's one of my first memories.
That's a lovely
right.
Memory, actually. That's
yeah.
And is it a musical family that you come from?
It is a musical family. My parents are musical, but they're not. They weren't professional musicians. My father worked in construction my whole life, and my mother was a teacher. But they sang. My father plays guitar, always has, and in fact, once he retired, he started making guitars. But I'm the middle of two sisters, and they both are musicians. My older sister is a cellist on Broadway, and my younger sister is a music teacher in Georgia. So, and she I always thought was the most naturally talented musically of the three of us. She played piano like nobody's business, and it was just natural talent. She hated practicing, whereas I always had to work really hard to practice a lot, and my older sister too. So that's something.
Did that come naturally to you, working hard, working a lot? Was it something that you just took to?
That's a good question. I'm not, you know what? It didn't come naturally to me when it was something that I didn't want to do. So I also took piano lessons, but I didn't love doing it. So I remember it was like, I have to set the timer for 30 minutes and I have to practice. But when it was singing, you couldn't stop me from that, or anything that I really loved doing. Then I was very excited to do that work.
So it's finding the work that you love doing really is the key, isn't it?
I agree. Yes, it's absolutely that.
Can you remember what the very first song or piece of music was to get stuck inside your head?
to get a song. I remember one of my my mother used to always sing lullabies. And I remember that. So when I was the age where I would start babysitting, I would sing those lullabies. And they were old songs. So like Sentimental Journey, gonna take a sentimental journey, gonna set my heart at ease. Like those songs that my grandparents loved.
That's definitely connected to Liverpool. Ringo Starr did a version of that.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know. That's so cool.
Well worth seeking out online.
I will, for sure. Yeah, stuff like that. Those were lullaby. And then also You Are My Sunshine, stuff like that. So I think those are some of my earliest songs that I remember hearing. And then, yeah, those are easy to get stuck in your head.
What were the pop stars of the day that grabbed your attention? I mean, most people growing up have their own, like with me, collided with the Beatles, erupted on the planet. And to this day, of course, if I'm going to hum a song, chances are it'll either be something from Andrew Lloyd Webber or indeed the Beatles.
Yes. People who know me know that I have huge gaps in my pop culture because we weren't allowed to listen to the radio or watch TV when we were growing up. So whoa.
Why not? Why were you not allowed?
Because we were constantly practicing and working on things, and my mother really wanted us to be incredibly as imaginative as possible. So I believe that she felt like if we were, taking things like that, listening to things and watching things that are on television or on the radio, then we aren't creating. So I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and it wasn't until I was in high school that I listened to the radio, because then I could drive. And so then I would listen to the radio. And at that time, like it was Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and all the boy bands. So the soundtrack to my high school was that very time.
And did that have an impact on you?
Absolutely. Well, that stuff, yeah, because I just thought it was like, the sound was nothing like what I grew up singing like, that pop sound and stuff. I'm not someone who listened to the radio and sang along with it. But I guess what I would say is we were very influenced by Disney. So Disney was the sound that we listened to and that we grew up hearing and stuff like that. But yes, once I started hearing the radio and like all that, it was the perfect time, because those songs, and that when you're 16 years old, that is how you feel. You want like a band of boys singing to you, like all this stuff, or just very.
This is true. I had the Beatles singing to me, so
yes,
for which I'm very thankful.
Yes, and it's like, oh, how do they know how I'm feeling and all this stuff? Yeah.
Speaking of school, did you take to school? And perhaps equally importantly, did school take to you?
No, I was a terrible student. My older sister is probably my favorite human on the planet. She's 2 years older than me. She skipped a grade, so she was 3 years older in school, because this is summer. Okay. She is probably the most like intelligent person I know. She is very academic, and so she is the student that every teacher would want. I wasn't trouble, but I just didn't. My brain is not a math brain. My brain does not understand a lot of that stuff. I'll tune out if we start talking about any type of like percentages or fractions. I'll be done. I'll just stare.
I shall try and steer clear.
You shall. And like even with music theory was hard for me because it became about math. But so I didn't realize that. But ear training, all that stuff, that was no problem. But once I had to learn how to this and you know, how you divide quarter notes or any of that stuff, it was harder for me. So I didn't enjoy school in terms of learning academic stuff, but I loved my drama department. So in high school, that was the thing that saved my life.
So your talents, would you say your talents were recognized?
In drama?
At school, yeah, in any way?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, they were. But I will say this, starting in middle school, I was not at all the kid that had the most natural ability at all. I know that I wasn't. I really did have to work hard, but I didn't ever see it as like, I gotta be the star. In fact, I never thought I would be. I remember my first role in 6th grade, we did Macbeth, which I can say because we're not in a theater. And I played Banquo. And they would give us this
key role. It's a key role.
It is. And my favorite thing was it's like, oh, he's awesome. He's so cool. And I loved him. And then I got, then we would do it like every other day. And I would play one of the witches in another version, you know. So I got to do like I didn't ever want to play Macbeth, but I got to like use a stipple brush and put like stubble. And I thought that was it was just like, I thought I was going to be like this character actress. That's what I thought. But I think that's why I mean, I just loved it. So I was doing the work without realizing this is the work. I know I'm a little bit all over the place right now, but yes, I think what was recognized is my work ethic.
Yeah.
That's what I think was recognized.
Yeah. And you recognize that yourself?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I probably, in hindsight, yes, but then I didn't know what work ethic was.
Speaking of schools, how important are the arts in schools in the US?
Well, for me, the most important thing, because like I said, it saved my life. I went to school because I looked forward to every day getting to do what I do in my drama class. And it's not an easy A class. This is a class you have to work hard. Or I also played the flute. So orchestra and all that stuff. In America, we struggle, I think, very much like the UK, where they're always threatening to take that out of schools or defunding it and all these things. But I think that's one of the biggest mistakes ever. Because like I said, I'm not a math brain, but once I applied it to this is how you learn how to read music, now I'm interested in math.
Yeah.
You know, things like
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely.
So
well said.
It all goes like this. You can't have one without the other, and no kid learns the same way. So for me, I'm now interested because it applies to something that I really want to do, which is this, you know.
I do. I think after your career, I think we should see you in the White House. I think you could change the world with that attitude. I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. Turning 13, did you rebel? It's the age we're all supposed to rebel as teenagers. You're a rebellious teen.
I was not rebellious, but I was definitely tapping into my super like theater kid, artsy, like I had an outlet for that rebellion, which was in middle school. For us, middle school, I was taking 2 periods of acting class. So I had a place to put all of those hormonal, emotional, like big changes in your life that you don't realize. And I had a place to put that, which was in my scene work and my improv. We get to improv with each other. So I don't remember feeling like, I just remember having an outlet for all the stuff that's going on inside of me. Again, why there must be arts in the school. Yeah. That helps everyone, parents, everything, teacher, having a place to go as an outlet for all that you're feeling. Yeah. That's very useful.
So would you say, did you know where you were going by that stage? Your ambitions, were they what happened to you in your life? I mean, did you while at school realize your ambitions?
I think so. I still, by the way, I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I did not know what Broadway was yet, especially at 13. I didn't know about New York. I didn't understand any of this stuff.
Can you tell us a little about, well, what's it like growing up in Colorado? I mean, how does that fit into the United States?
Colorado is very central. So it's central and west. So the climate itself it's very high altitude, it's very dry, and it's one of the most beautiful places in the country. There is mountains, there's like, that's how I knew how to tell north, south, east, west. The mountains are always west where I was in Denver. So that's how I figured it out. And it wasn't until I left the state that I was like, how do you tell?
We haven't a clue how to do the north, south, west. We know Scotland is up north. And that's
sure. That's it. How would you know? So in Colorado, mountains are west. And so that's why I grew up doing a winter sport, because it's Colorado. It snows a lot, but it's beautiful, blue sky, the whole thing. So, and New York is a 3-hour flight from Colorado, but people are very outdoorsy. People are very nature conscious. So I really did grow up. That's the other thing with no TV. It's also like, why would you watch TV when you can be outside and playing outside? And that was the dialogue that I would hear a lot. And it's true. All I wanted to do is be outside, and my feet were always muddy. And so I grew up like that. I think
that's the name of your autobiography. My feet were always muddy. It's a great line.
It's always, and actually, to be honest, it was my socks a lot that would get dirty, because when you're a kid, you go outside with your socks on, and your mom's like, I will never be able to get that out now. So
so after school, what would you say was your first professional break?
Well, I went to college for a university for musical theater. So I got a degree. So by the time I was in high school, that's when I went to New York for the first time. My drama teacher, who is very instrumental in changing my life. I mean, she is still to this day. I see her every time I go home. She was very influential in my life and helping me get to where I am. She took me to New York with our class, and that's when I learned.
How was New York? I mean, that's going to have an impact on you, no matter, even though you might have seen it every day of your life on television. Well, you wouldn't have seen it every day of your life on TV. But
I'd never seen it. I never knew what it.
Even if you have, the impact is still quite something, isn't it, when you step into those streets?
It is. I do remember seeing Times Square and being like, from Colorado, world conscious and stuff, that they're allowed to have these lights on all the time. Like, isn't that bad for the planet? and seeing a Broadway, we saw 4 Broadway shows, I think. And so that was my first Broadway show was Chicago, the musical, and Rent and Titanic and Lion King. So that was 1996. And I just thought it was really cool, but I don't remember being at all like, one day I'm going to be on Broadway. I don't remember having that feeling like I did. Fast forward to when I was in college and I studied abroad in London for a semester. I had that. I very, very much remember thinking to myself, I am going to be on the West End one day. For some reason, not for some reason, London is extremely magical to me. And I have felt like there must be some past life stuff or something, because I have felt I do feel like it's my second home. And so even more than my Broadway debut, it was my West End debut that was the biggest, most magical moment.
Really? How lovely to hear.
Yeah, I know I'm fast forwarding.
English
Sorry. Yeah, I'm serious. I remember having that feeling. I remember being in London for the first time. New York, it just, once I learned this is where you go if you want to be at the top of what you want to do. Broadway is it, you know, so okay, so that's where I go. So I'm going to major in musical theater, and I'm going to get a BFA in musical theater, and I'm going to move to New York, and that's what I'm going to do. It just was that type of, but it's not because I'm so amazing, I am going to, it was just, oh, that's what I want to do. Got it. Let me get there by doing all of this work. So once I went to college, my entire 4 years at university was dedicated to the work to get to be a professional Broadway singer and actor. So my first professional show, the first show that I got paid for, I got paid $104 a week. I thought it was like, this is incredible. It was in summer stock, with summer stock, you do 4 shows in rep. So we would rehearse, say we would perform Oklahoma at night, we would rehearse Pirates of Penzance during the day, and then we would switch. And then the next one is Grease or whatever it was. And that was between my junior and senior year of college. And that was in the summertime. And it was a very tiny little theater called the Little Theater on the Square in the middle of Sullivan, Illinois, which is, there, nothing happens in Illinois, like in this place in Illinois. It is, no one's ever heard of it, but it was like the most incredible experience. And I would help tear down the sets. It was just like all this stuff that you must have these experiences when you're young, because you have no, well, I don't do that. You know, you're like, can I tear down the sets? Can I help sew the costumes? Like, you don't have to pay me extra, you know, when it becomes our profession, it loses the magic of why we started in the first place, which is the community, which is how can I help, which is the stipple brush of Banquo. That's like, I'll do that. Like, you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. That's
Okay.
beautifully described. And it's the teamwork, and there's nothing like it, is there? There's nothing like it, working with the right team. Well, you know, nothing on this planet like it.
That's right. And these families that you create, and to be honest, I will say too that I didn't get into this because I was the best at what I do. When I started out, I got into this because there was this other family that you create whenever you did a show together, that there was this collaboration that you get to do with each other, and it meant more than anything. That's why I loved it. And I think that's why we miss it even more than people think. It's the applause or being in front of an audience. And it's actually, I'm tired of doing the work by myself in my apartment. I want to work with others. I want to be sweating with each other and figuring it out together. That's why we love it.
It's coming back at great speed. And oh boy, what a joy that will be. Inspirations. You look inspired. Who? This is going to surprise me, I'm sure, when I hear who is your greatest inspiration on this planet?
Well, on this planet, well, my first inspiration for what I do is Barbra Streisand. I remember
what is it about Barbara? What is it? Because she's been around quite a long time, and certainly before you were born, even she was.
Yep.
So it's not like she came along in your lifetime and had that impact. What would you say it is about her that has grabbed you in such a way?
You always know it's her when she's singing. She sounds like no one else. So she's not imitating. She's not trying to fit in and sound like anyone else. She is her own sound. She is very sure of who she is and what she wants to put out there. And as a kid, you know, the soundtrack to my entire life was anything Barbra Streisand. My mother would play her records, so it's all the old Streisand that I was listening to, and so that's what I know. And then when I figured out how to put records onto cassette tape so that we could listen to them in the car, so it's that there's, and it's also, it's how she sings it doesn't feel like it's seeking perfection, even though she's famously a perfectionist. It feels like it's coming from the soul. And whenever I teach, I say, I don't know how to teach you how to sing, but I can help you with how to act a song. And I think that's why it's like, it's not all linear and perfect. It's like, it's gut, it's soul. It just feels, and it feels like divine. It really does. It's like, oh, there's no denying that's divinely given to you when she sings. And the same with her acting. The first thing I ever saw of Barbra Streisand was actually the VHS of Hello, Dolly. That was it. It wasn't Funny Girl. That was much later. It was that, and then it was,
how interesting, of course, with Michael Crawford. So,
I know. So when I
connection.
met Michael, you better believe I was like, oh my God, Cornelius Hackle of Yonkers, New York. And he was so sweet, because it's like, you know, he's probably so used to people like, oh, you're my favorite fan. So nobody goes up to him and says Cornelius Hackle. So he was like, and he goes, out there's a world outside of Yonkers. And I was like, oh my God, I love this man. Like, that was one of my highlights, actually.
He is very lovable, I have to say. One of those Englishmen that is instantly adorable.
Truly, yes. Yes.
There's not a lot of us around.
I find that not true.
Sierra, there's a question I've been interviewing people since probably around about 1970. And there's one question I ask every time, no matter who it is. I'm ever hopeful of getting an answer to this. What's the meaning of life?
Oh, I wanted something so clever just right away that I could say. I do think, because it's interesting asking that now, and I'm sure as you've asked people during this time too, answers are probably really introspective or just silly, right?
Oh, bang on.
Yes. I have been introspective about this because it's interesting, especially because we're talking about, you know, like what I do for a living or something. But there's this idea that's like, you aren't what you do. Because if you are what you do, then when you don't do, who are you? And that's the thing that's happened to us during this time. So I feel like life is also like, hey, don't forget about living. So don't forget about the actual meaning, which we're trying to be like, yeah, okay, what is that? And so yes, I do to live. I sing and dance and act on Broadway or at the West End or in life. But I'm not doing that right now. So does that make me a non-person? No. So I think what I'm discovering is we get to figure out each day what gets us up in the morning and what excites us. And it doesn't actually even have to be super exciting, but it's like, what's worth my time? What's on this planet, which now we're aware we can, once everything was taken, we suddenly are like, I either have all these hours, and what am I supposed to do with all these hours? Or, oh, there's no time to do anything, or what, nothing matters. So I guess it's tapping into and becoming aware of what's important, and by figuring out what's important to you, your soul, you can be then helpful for others. So during this time, I didn't even want to sing for the longest time, but I wanted to do other things. I wanted to connect with people and help them we figure this out together. So maybe the meaning of life is, it is this connection. It's we're not on this planet alone. If we were, then this would be a whole other thing. But we're we are hardwired for human connection. So I have no idea is my short answer. I haven't a clue, but here's some ramblings and take what you will, people listening.
Best answer ever. That's excellent. Fantastically good. I want all of that on a t-shirt.
Great, yeah.
Okay. That's absolutely terrific. Tell me, would the 8-year-old Sierra approve of the adult Sierra? And do you think you'd get on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because something I've never lost is my childlike excitement and wonder. And because my dad was just here, he was talking to some of my friends. I'm not 8 years old, but I'll go. It snows outside in New York, and I'm like, who wants to go sledding? You know, and I have people of all ages now that are like, hey, standing in the park. That's like, why am I enjoying sledding? And it's like us grown people and like a mess of kids. And so I know my 8-year-old self would be like, cool, because I would have someone to like always go and do like these things with. I think it's so important to not lose your childlike wonder and curiosity and excitement.
I see that child come out in you in the beautiful clips you've been doing with Julian, whether it's shoving a croissant down your throat at the end of it, or singing Till There Was You to a snowman. It's beautiful little moments that are so childlike, not childish, but childlike in their beauty.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yes, he is.
Yeah, I've had a long career of being seen as somebody, my friend calls it pulled divas, which means just pulled, corseted usually, and they're the divas or something. And so people who don't know me, they think that is who Sierra is. A lot of people actually, when they meet me, it's like, oh, I thought you would have a British accent.
Yes.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
You do it very, very well. And that's one heck of a talent.
Thank you. Yeah, you've probably heard some doozies.
As indeed, I'm sure you've heard plenty of English people doing American accents.
Yes.
Equally badly. Yes. Usually from the South.
Yes. Usually, yes. But yeah, so I like any time that I can find moments where I can put like little Sierra isms into things, like shoving a croissant after I've been singing, in a very polite way. It's fun.
It's terrific. I mean, I feel as if I should be doing something now, like shaving or hoovering or vacuuming or something, as we talk with each other. Those are a superb set, a superb set of little film clips. Absolutely terrific.
Thank you so much.
Ups and downs of a career. I mean, to look at you, it's total success. But of course it's not, is it? There has to be ups and downs in any career. How do you cope with a failed show or just failure in general, which has to come probably more often than success, I would imagine, in a creative life?
Absolutely. I was out with two of my dearest friends that are big old amazing people in this industry. And we were joking over dinner that was like, and the Tony Award for most shows closed before going into actual production is Sierra Boggess. Like, I have probably more shows. I have more shows that never made it than shows that I'm known for. But what I talk about, there's one specific instance that I will say so that I can try and articulate this well, because I think this is a very important thing for people to hear, and students and young people to hear. There was a show that I wanted so much. And in fact, it was one of these roles that everyone assumed Sierra's going to play this. And I had this big audition, and it went like the best of an audition could go. Like the director gets up and hugs me and the whole thing. And then I get the call that day, you have a call back. In 1 month, which is bizarre, but they were seeing everyone. Well, then I get to the callback a month later, and it's narrowed down to about 5 or 7 girls. And I am ready to go in, and I see this person come out who looks very similar to me. And I didn't know who she was. And I see the director come out and sort of put his arm around her. And I'm like, oh no, this is one of these instances where this is done before I even walk in. And turns out that I didn't get this. And that day, and even the casting director, when he called my agent, he said, I don't know what to tell you to tell Sierra. There's no reason, that we can say this is why. And I say all that because that very day, so I was so heartbroken. I worked so hard on this. I did everything right. So for everyone listening, that's like, but I did all the things you said. I memorized. I knew who I was talking to. I knew my songs. I was all that, and everything was right. And you still don't get it. And I had this come to Jesus with myself because I had to go teach a master class. And I was like, and I got to the master class, and I told them this, and I said, I had this moment with myself. Not 1 ounce of me wanted to cancel coming to this class and I didn't want to come here and say, so this is what can happen. You're gonna never get this, even though you worked hard. This business is so, all these things. In fact, it's the opposite. What I wanted to say was, I lost nothing by doing all that work and being that excited and that ready and prepared. I lost nothing by not actually getting the role, because you grow. It was the work that I was doing that made me grow as an artist. So how do you deal with failure? You know that it's part of it. You figure out that's like, this isn't a competition. This business is not a competition, though we think that it is. Someone didn't win the role and someone doesn't lose. You're not now a loser, because it is so many factors, as you know, of why somebody gets something or doesn't. And it has most of the time nothing to do with you. But if you don't enjoy doing the work, if you don't enjoy all that this audition, by the way, was 40 pages of text that I memorized. Now it's not like, oh, well, now I've memorized that for nothing. Did you? Because you just taught yourself you can memorize 40 pages of very complicated text. So this is a long-winded way of saying the failures happen, and you must know that is part of it, or what feels like failure. But you lose nothing if you have done the work. And if you knew that you aren't going to get this job, I still would have gone in and done all of that work. So the joy is in the work, which is not my quote. This is something people have said for years and years and years. And it is the only thing I know to be so. And the moment that I don't enjoy doing the work is the moment that I do need to step away, because I meet too many students who are like so eager and can't wait to do this work to get to do what I do for a living.
Absolutely fantastic. I need an applause track on here somewhere. I need a button to press. This is just so good, and everything that that young people should hear. Absolutely. What do you see when you look in the mirror?
There's so many ways to answer that question.
The older you get, you'll find there's even more ways.
I'm sure. It's so fun. I worked with somebody recently. I love therapy. I am very therapized. You might be able to tell in some of my language. And I have been encouraged a lot. That's like, I want you to look in the mirror and talk to yourself in a positive way, because we've, I think, learned we we learn at the age of people who might be listening to this too, that's like, find your flaw. You look in the mirror to find your flaws. What if you look in the mirror to find the things you're proud of? And it's like, oh, I have this because this, and acknowledging this, like, oh, this is what I look like now or today. So I guess when I look in the mirror, I see a work in progress.
Very good. Very good. Yes. I guess I would say the same, although it's very fuzzy these days. I tend not to have my specs on when I look in the mirror. So I'm going by feel when I shave or whatever. It's all getting a bit fuzzy as life goes on.
A nice glossy filter.
And yes, the filter is definitely up there. How important are cats in the world order?
Cats?
Yeah, cats.
The most important.
And where do they come as relation to dogs? As a dog person, I speak.
I'm a cat person, and I'm an all animals person. I can't help it. But it's so funny. Last night I was having this conversation literally about my cats. And I think having an animal is one of the most it's one of the best things in life, any animal, because they can only be in the present. Dogs, in fact, I believe, are literally here. Their purpose is to love you. Their whole purpose is to love you. That's why I have so much anger for people who are abusive to animals, because it's like, really, their literal purpose is to love you. So get right with yourself. And cats are so complicated and so full of all these different things that I love that, you know, I always am like, ooh, how do I earn this? What do you need? They just teach you so much. If you're a dog person, you know, it's like, and animals are fully present and they forgive. Like this, if I accidentally step on a tail because one of my cats is under my feet and I'm like, I am so sorry. And she's like, you know, over it, done, it's over. I just think animals are most amazing teachers, and they are extremely important and way cooler than any humans.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I want the T-shirt with that on.
Okay.
I live that T-shirt.
Yes.
What is a typical day in the life? I mean, is there a typical day in the life these days? Maybe I could bring in, you know, how are you coping with lockdown? And have you discovered anything about yourself during this very strange time?
If anyone says no to that, no, I haven't figured out anything new, you know. It's like, wow. I don't know how you could say no to that. Yes, I have learned that I am really good with, I should be able to articulate this better, but I'm good with adjustment. So like when the pandemic first happened, it was like, okay, there's nowhere to do anything that you normally do. Okay, got it. So I don't go to the gym. So now I roll up my yoga mat, I move my chairs out of the way, and here's my gym. That goes there. Okay, I practice here. I do ballet right here in this room. Now this is that. So it's adjusting, and it excited me to figure out how to adjust, which theater kids are scrappy. We figure it out, you know. And I went to a college too in the middle of Decatur, Illinois. It was very, very old. They just got a new theater building, but we're scrappy. We figure out, like, we didn't have state of the art, like all this stuff. So I'm good at adjusting. And my mindset gets excited and curious. So that childlike thing comes in again. A typical day is I move my body in some way each day, especially during a pandemic. I think moving our everything that's in our heads and all that we're stressed about, you have to get it out somewhere. Anybody who's following me on social knows I went back to the ice rink once we can do stuff, and all of a sudden I'm like, I can go to the ice rink, which I could do a whole hour about what what ice skating has been like for me. And it's like, I think it should be prescribed for mental health every time I go, and for theater kids and showbiz kids, because the boxes it's ticking for me are moving my body in a way that feels more like performing, because you have to move in a certain way so you can stay upright, and there's other people around too that are watching. You're also practicing things that are difficult and trying to achieve, okay, how do I spin this or land something? And then I apply that to when I did a virtual concert this year, and I was thinking about skating while I was doing it, and I was like, oh, this is when I'm doing my double axel or something. I'm preparing for this moment, which is this song that's really difficult, and it goes at this part of my program. So there's all these parallels. So for anybody who plays sports, keep doing that and figure out what that is. And you might end up putting it in, you might end up taking a dance class, and it will feel like, oh, when I'm playing sports or something. So figuring out where those outlets are that don't look like what they used to look like pre-pandemic. I think that's, those are some things.
Mm. And do you see the way ahead? I mean, talking with your colleagues in the theatre world, do you see a way ahead? Has anybody put dates in yet, or is it too early?
Too early. I've heard, of course, rumblings of things, and but I don't see the way ahead yet, and I don't know that we're ready until, you know, there's a huge shift also that needs to happen in our country and in our business, that we can't go back to how it was. So a lot of things need to be changed from the highest ups. So there's a lot of change that has to happen. So I don't visualize how it's going to be yet. I don't think we're ready.
Could be a great opportunity, couldn't it? Because I think because of the COVID, the talk is all about COVID, and people aren't actually saying, you know what, before we went into COVID, things were pretty screwed up. The world was in a mess. And it was just certain people who were pointing that out, like little Greta from Sweden or whatever, you know, young people in general were actually realizing, hang on, what's this world we're being left, you know? And perhaps something good that could come from COVID would be a starting over, because boy, do we need to start over in a big way, and not just to get back to where we were beforehand.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Well, great. Between us,
I have nothing else
that's
to
two
add
of
to
us.
that. That's it. Good. We'll do it.
we've started something. Tell me, is love all you need? I have to ask that question as a Liverpudlian, and it was voiced by 4 Liverpudlians back in 1957. Yes.
It's got to be yes. It has to be yes. The answer has to be yes. And it's not like, it's not to make it, you can make that as trivial as you want or try as you want to, but it's not if you actually think about what they're saying. Love is all you need. It's everything that we've been talking about. So if I don't love the work that I'm doing, then it's not going to work out. If I don't love this skin that I'm in, this pandemic is going to be if I don't love my sadness, if I don't love my dips and my highs and all of, yes, it has to be love is all you need. And it doesn't stop, but it doesn't say, and then you stop there. That's the start, I believe.
Mm. I haven't heard you sing a Beatles song. Do you have one in your
Love is all you need. Everybody.
Excellent. That'll do. The future for Sierra Boggess. How do you view it? Forgetting for a moment COVID and where we are at the moment, where do you see the next 10 years of your career and life?
In what?
And life.
And life. Career-wise, I haven't done everything that I want to do yet in terms of, you know, a lot of people in my industry, they're like, hey, well, I'm moving out now. Like, you leave New York and you're done. I haven't done everything that I feel still called to do in terms of showbiz. So that's where I think of immediately. I don't know where I want to end up, but I guess truly my best answer to that is I certainly don't feel done, but I also am careful to speak in absolutes these days, because everything is like, you wanted what? Here's the, like, you know, none of us predicted this, no matter who you are on the planet. So I look forward to the path starting to be revealed in the way, if I'm being fully present, to like, oh, got it, I'm called here, or I'm called here. I have a lot of things like this right now, but what I'm craving is what I talked about earlier, which is the connection and the creating something in a show with people. So that's what I hope the future is.
Excellent. Well, I have to say, you mentioned that London was the big high, really, for you, making it onto the West End stage. If London seems incredible, I have to say, wait till you get to Liverpool and hit the stage in Liverpool, because it will outdo London.
Done.
I feel I can say that as a representative of Liverpool Heartbeat.
You can. And you must.
I must indeed. To finish, can we just finish on two characters that you played, and maybe talk a little about the character of both, Christine and the Little Mermaid, two completely different roles, and how going into them. First of all, how do you prepare to play a mermaid? Do you bring out the 8-year-old in yourself, or?
Actually, it was quite technical. When I booked Little Mermaid, I was doing Phantom in Las Vegas. So that was the first place that I ever did Phantom. And I was living in Vegas, and I get, the call about playing Ariel. And so I went to this casino that had an aquarium in the middle of it, where a woman was dressed as a mermaid, and she had an oxygen, and she would swim around. And I prepared by being the creepiest one there, and I stood with a notebook, and I still have these notes, and I watched because I needed to go, okay, I've watched Little Mermaid cartoons since I was 7 years old, but I can't move like a drawing. But how does a human actually do this? How am I? And so I would be like, okay, she moved like this, or this is how, in order to turn you this, or whatever it is. Then living in Vegas, everyone has a pool. So in my apartment complex was a pool, and I would go to the pool, and I would literally stand in the pool and become aware of things you wouldn't normally do. What are my arms doing? And then I realized you never stand like this in a pool. You never have your. So I was technically researching this stuff. Again, everybody, I'm serious. Joy is in the work. This is my research for Ariel. And then, so that's why if anyone saw it or sees clips, my arms are constantly moving, and I wasn't directed to do that. It's because that's what I brought as the character, because if we're underwater, and I would always have my arms moving in some way. So that's how
only in Vegas could you do such research,
right? I was like, what would you do? And I'm like, let me figure this out. And of course there's a mermaid, like a woman as a mermaid, in a casino. It was perfect. So but then of course there's all the work, the mental work that you do to get into into those characters and into Ariel, just in terms of how she became who she is. And I'm very similar in the curiosity department and the wanting something so much. But that's whenever I teach and talk about Ariel with kids, and I say, no matter what, we are portraying human emotion. So even if you're playing a fish, even if you're in Lion King playing animals, there is human emotion that you can tap into. So when you sing part of your world, what do you want that equals what her want is? She wants to be on land, but what is it for you? And it can be Broadway, it can be any of the thing, getting out of this, singing that song during a pandemic. I want to get out of these waters, these walls, you know. So that's the stuff. With Christine,
I have to say, I absolutely love the line, even if you're playing a fish. I mean, does that not sum up this wonderful profession?
yes,
Even if you're playing a fish.
yes.
Now that is reason to come to planet Earth in the first place.
Amen. There's your purpose, right? I get to be a fish and figure this out. Yeah, I get to play a fish. I love it.
Well.
Oh, and then quickly, I will say with Christine quickly that I don't know. She is very different than I am. Ariel's quite similar. I'll say this too. I love the Enneagram, and people can look up what that is. It's a 9-point star of personalities, and that each of us has something. It's, you know, some people use horoscopes and stuff like that. I love to do the Enneagram, and if you so choose to look this up, you might find it helpful for working on characters too, because I figure out which personality each of my characters are. I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. Ariel is a 7 on the Enneagram. Christine is a 4 on the Enneagram, and 4s are completely different and very like in their heads and emotional and all this stuff. But for some reason, I connect, perhaps because she is so opposite of me, I connect to her in a very deep level. So I do that kind of like detailed stuff that helps get me started. And of course, and I've been realizing this lately with a lot of my characters, they have daddy issues. Both Ariel and Christine have daddy issues. You know, the whole thing with Christine is that she misses him so much that she's willing to believe that this, you know, psycho, because he is, that we want her to end up with, he's actually a sociopath. And he's using the one thing she loves more than anything in the world, her dead father, to get her. And she falls for it and all that stuff. So I do a lot of that, just like she's the way that she is because of these things. And then I throw it all away and I just live in it.
You played with different phantoms. How many different phantoms did you play with?
In Vegas, I played with Brent Barrett and Anthony Crivello. We were double cast, so I had both of those amazing men. And then on Broadway was Norm Lewis and Hugh Pinero, and in London was Ramin.
Did it alter your performance, working with a different actor?
Every time. They are so different. I want to just quickly touch on Brent Barrett and Anthony Crivello. They're completely different men in real life. Brent is very tall and slim and just beautiful, and you know, his voice is like chocolate, and he's very elegant. He is very Michael Crawford-y as well, and he's very spider-like in his movement. Anthony Crivello is like, he's sexy and he's shorter and he's gruffer, and he has this like more the angry part, but both work so beautifully. So each thing you play differently, and of course with Norm and Ramin and Hugh, they're all so different. So everything that they were, and how they sing, it's different, and how they touch you is different. Ones that this was always my favorite, that Hal and Jilly, today's Jilly's birthday, by the way, Jilly Lynn's birthday, and Hal would teach us the moment that everyone knows of, when the phantom pushes Christine's face and then brings it back, really. And this one is, it's like this angry, mad at you thing, but then it's gentle. It's so manipulative. So each one was played those things different, but it's all the same movement. So it's just, I could play Christine for the rest of my life. There's so much to find in that. It's so well written.
Gosh, I think I could watch it for the rest of my life too. It's so beautifully performed.
Thank you.
Absolute joy every time I watch it. Incredible. But look, this has been a joy for me, I have to say. And I know it's going to go down so well with the young people across Merseyside. So thank you so much for your time today. I think if I sum it up, it has to be with that all-encompassing word, wow. Absolutely wow. I mean, what a love. Will you be writing an autobiography? Because so much of what you said today, should be put in front of young people, I think, and is relevant to the world moving ahead. But it's entertaining. You do it in such an entertaining way, which is all important, because that's the easiest way for people to learn.
Yeah.
And there was so much in what you said in the last hour that's been relevant and a joy to hear, because I know it'll be going on and being heard by these young people.
I'm so glad. Thank you for giving me this space to speak on this. Thank you so much.
I look forward one day to welcoming you to Liverpool. Hopefully,
I can't wait.
That will be before too long. Sierra Boggess, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.